Welcome back. Here are the headline stories. A delicate political situation in Rivers State has snowballed into a raging crisis after the National Working Committee of the PDP formally suspended the Rivers State Governor, Chibuike Amechi, from the party. Following an emergency meeting in Abuja, the NWC announced the suspension of the governor, saying he violated key articles of the party's constitution. Its National Publicity Secretary, Mr. Olisametu, insists the suspension was the consequence of a petition submitted by the PDP Rivers State Executive Committee against Mr. Amechi. However, Governor Amechi has dismissed his suspension from the People's Democratic Party, calling it an unfair decision. The Rivers State Governor, who is very bitter about this, claims he was not invited by anyone for questioning before he was supposedly suspended. His reaction came at a youth initiative session with the theme Consolidating on Rivers of Our Dream in Port Harcourt. And while Governor Amechi wades through this political sea, the other acclaimed winner of the same forum election, Governor Jonah Jang of Plateau State, is asking him to cooperate in the interests of the party. Governor Jang made the statement at the Yakubu Airport in Jos on arrival from Abuja. He told journalists that the governors have given him the mandate to unite and reposition the forum with the right leadership that will benefit Nigerians. And to the foreign scene now, European Union foreign ministers have agreed to lift an arms embargo on the Syrian opposition, which is to expire on Saturday. However, according to the EU Foreign Policy Chief, Catherine Ashton, there was no immediate decision to send arms to Syrian rebels, and all other sanctions remain in force. Over there in Asia, South Korea has suspended operations at 2 more nuclear reactors over the use of unauthorized parts. The Nuclear Safety and Security Commission also delayed the start of operations at 2 other reactors, but said there was no public safety threat. 2 reactors were suspended in late 2012 amid a scandal over parts with fake safety certificates. And those were the headlines. Sunrise Daily continues.
All right, welcome back to Sunrise Daily, and continuing with the program, we'll be focusing on air safety. Yes, the aviation sector is concerned here, and Captain Mokhtar Usman joins us now. He's the commissioner with the Accident Investigation Bureau. Morning, and thank you for coming on today.
Good morning.
Well, would you know that after the Dana crash, which is almost a year now, and the federal government at that time set up this technical and administrative review panel for the aviation industry to review the maintenance practices of all domestic airlines in the country and ensure that things just work out right. But at the moment, I mean, at the time, they had 6 weeks to complete their work. It was an 11-man panel. What do you know about that? Anything from there useful to the AIB yet?
Well, thank you. To begin with, that was an administrative and technical panel that was set up. Accident Investigation Bureau has its own mandate to investigate accidents. The other panel did a very good and thorough job in unraveling and making recommendations to government. And most of them have been implemented completely. The few that are remaining are almost completely implemented. However, our own report is technical in nature. It's a no-blame investigation. And the aim is actually to find what happened, how it happened, why it happened, so that we can learn lessons. And we have been doing that. The investigation has gone a long way. We issued a report. The ultimate end is bringing out safety recommendations and implementing them to prevent accidents from happening in the future. As we always say, accidents is safety is everybody's business. And at any stage of the investigation, we see anything that we need to address safety issues that we need to address. We make safety recommendations.
Does your recommendations or your reports take a look at operational audit of airlines?
We do everything. We investigate everything, actually, when an accident happens. We are actually focusing mainly on prevention. But then, having said that, when we have to investigate accidents, we examine organization, policy, operation, airworthiness, and all other issues associated with operations of aircraft.
So was there any major findings or recommendations about the operational audit of any of these airlines and how they should ensure safety standards are strictly adhered to?
Well, whatever we have seen, because we are supposed to be proactive in nature, and that's exactly what we are doing. We have issued some interim safety recommendations, which have been implemented, and there's a lot of improvement. When everything is quiet, nobody knows that we are working, but we are always working behind the scene to ensure that we have a lot of a very good safety record in terms of number of operations as against any incidents.
Well, I think that is why people must also talk. Well, looking at the dailies now, Dana crash, 11 families receive full compensation for $100,000. We'll talk about that later on, but not with you. And looking at that, this brings to mind what we should be talking about now, prevention strategies. But before we talk about prevention strategies, people still can't get a clear-cut reason why the aircraft went down, even though it has started flying again. So perhaps now that you're here, you say, well, you work, but sometimes people think that you're not truly working. Could you tell us and let people know, especially families, that would really want to know why their loved ones actually went that way with that particular airline?
Well, as we always say, we were not there when it happened, but we have to try and reconstruct accidents. We have so many things that help us to reconstruct accidents. In most cases, we have flight recorders. In some cases, we have eyewitness, ear witness, and so on. So far, we have done a lot of work in terms of investigating these accidents. And we have issued a preliminary report, which is already on our website. And since then, a lot of activities have been going on in terms of taking the engines, because we knew that the aircraft lost engine power. So we've been working to find out why the engines lost power. We have taken them out of the country. We have torn them down to find out what actually.
When are they expected back?
Well, naturally, you don't expect the engine to come back and be in service. It's been torn down to understand what actually happened. And in addition, we have examined some of the components associated with the engines. We are still analyzing those findings, actually.
So we can't put the time as to when we expect the findings to be concluded.
We are very soon it will be completed. We have done a lot of work, really, in terms of the engine, the components, the electronic reconstruction. Mind you, we did not get all the recorders that we needed. But having said that, we were lucky to have the radar recording from the NAMA, Nigerian Airspace Management Agency, which is helping us a lot in trying to reconstruct.
If I may comment there, why didn't you get all the recordings you required? And what recordings were you requiring to work with?
Well,